Coverage straight from the heart. This is 13 WMAZ Eyewitness News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bove T. Mom. This is Eyewitness News at 11. This just in, the National Weather Service says an EF1 tornado hit Bibb County around 6 a.m. today. Georgia Power customers, some of them are still without power. But we first, of course, want to bring you the latest on the tornado and what happened early this morning. We join meteorologist Jason Disharoon.
Yeah, the National Weather Service sent a survey team out, and that's a group of people who go out, assess the damage, and then make the professional assessment of exactly what happened. Now, this morning, we were hearing from a lot of people on the ground saying this possibly was a microburst, but the National Weather Service is reporting that an EF1 tornado with winds up to 110 miles per hour touched down about 5 miles northwest of downtown Macon. That would put it in the North Macon area. Now, the tornado's path was about 2.5 miles long, and the path width was about 500 yards wide, and it did stay on the ground, like we said, for about 2.5 miles. Now, they're saying 20 to 25 houses were damaged, over 200 trees down, and 2 businesses sustained damage. So this was a pretty significant tornado, even though officially it was only EF1, definitely doing plenty of damage out there. The good news out of all this is we take a live look at Titan radars. There is absolutely nothing going on in central Georgia right now. We're just going to be seeing clear skies across the area as we go in towards the evening hours, and it's going to be chilly tonight. Temperatures dropping down to around 42 degrees, so you may need the light jacket again in the morning. But just to recap, the National Weather Service is calling the damage in North Macon due to the effect of an EF1 tornado. Winds about 110 miles per hour, and it lasted for about 2.5 miles on the ground. Bofta? All
right, thanks, Jason, for that update. Now, Georgia Power, as we mentioned before, says 300 customers still don't have power tonight and may be in the dark until tomorrow night. Now, they say the storm tore down power lines. Take a look at that. Crews spent the day working to get rid of the fallen trees. Officials say the storm hit some of the county's northern parts the hardest. Dozens of trees damaged homes and neighborhoods along Forest Hill Road. Some tree trunks snapped in half. Debris and limbs also blocked several roads. Fallen trees split this Normandy Road home nearly in two. Take a look at that. Neighbor Willie Bird describes the scene.
When we first jumped up, that's when the first tree hit the house. So we got up and ran downstairs, and another limb, it fell through the house. By the time we got to the bottom of the step, another piece of the tree broke off and went through the front door.
Georgia Power says they're working on restoring electricity to the 300 homes without power tonight, but say crews are still clearing away fallen trees in order to get into those neighborhoods. The Red Cross of Central Georgia says they've helped 3 families who needed places to stay and handed out meals to people without power. Director of Emergency Services, Latravia Smith, says they may also provide lunches for people who don't have power tomorrow. Now, anyone who needs Red Cross help can call them at 478-743-8671. Again, that's 478-743-8671. Well, when winds ripped through Bibb County's Owsley Street, 4 teenage girls, including sisters and friends having a sleepover, say they woke up to sounds of rattling and crashing. As Lauren DeSpirito explains, the storm tore up their home, but the girls say a special force kept them safe.
Get on the ground, get on the ground. 15-year-old Cheyenne Hamilton remembers waking up to her sister's screams.
I was like, there's a tree falling, and you could just hear everything.
It was horrible. I was in the room with Cheyenne, and she grabbed onto me.
A fallen forest, as Hamilton calls it, now nearly hides her Owsley Street home.
See the strings holding up the tree?
Splintered wood, a tree trunk, scraps of insulation. These are the remains of the terror she and friends felt hours before.
That's the door hinge.
Before Hamilton, her sister Sierra, and 2 friends could hide from raging winds, Hamilton says she learned something scarier than the sounds just outside her window.
We didn't know what to do because we found out nobody was at home.
Hamilton's father had left the girls alone in the home. He was on his way to work before storms struck.
Trees that were back there just flew up.
The girls made it through. They say trees landed in nearly every part of the house, but the bedrooms they hid in.
Where am I gonna live and what's gonna happen now?
The damage seems endless, but one of the few things left standing, a picture of Hamilton's mother who passed away when she was a toddler, may be a sign from above.
It's just like she was there for us when we needed her the most.
Lauren DeSpirito, 13 WMAZ Eyewitness News.
Now, the tornado also ripped off part of the roof of a hotel on Riverside Drive. Pieces of twisted metal and collapsed columns line the Days Inn parking lot. Parts of the building landed just feet away from guest rooms, and debris shattered a car's rear window. Winds appeared to have blown out a window in the hotel's lobby. Guest Gary Smith says he could hear debris and trash cans being blown around outside. Take a look at that video. When he woke up early this morning, he says that's when his daughter told him to look out the window.
It looked like a funnel was right over between the parking lot. It was a real black cloud, but it was at daybreak.
I seen it in the window, and my daddy came out and seen it.
I thought a tree fell down, but it wasn't a tree, it was a building.
Now, hotel workers said about 30 people were staying there when the tornado hit. He said no one reported being hurt. A Macon family can still see damage from this morning up close from their bedroom window. Strong winds blew huge pine trees onto the Adams family's home directly above the master bedroom. Dana Adams and her 2 kids were not hurt. They took cover in the basement and didn't notice the tree damage until hours later. Adams says he was out of town when the tornado hit, but drove back immediately after a neighbor called. He says he was relieved when he got home.
I'm just happy that my family is safe, and that's the most important thing. Trees can grow and my house can be fixed, and there's a whole lot of other people with a whole lot of other problems out there. I can't complain about some trees that are down.
Now, the family says they started cleaning up after the storm in hopes of getting their backyard ready for their daughter's 3rd birthday tomorrow. Another family in the Rivoli neighborhood woke up to find trees in their ceiling. The home suffered damages in 2 of the bedrooms and the front yard. William Broswell lives at the home and says his family ran to their basement when the sirens went off. He says they barely made it before bricks started falling from a wall above them. Broswell says the storm took him by surprise, but thankful no one was hurt.
The thing that was so amazing was just how quickly it went from close to dead calm to absolute mayhem. So it was an experience I hope never to relive.
Broswell says he and his family are temporarily staying in a hotel. Well, the system that came through this morning killed 17 people in the Midwest and South before it passed through central Georgia. It's killed more people and caused extensive damage in North Carolina tonight. Officials say they still don't know how many people were killed in North Carolina. In South Carolina, 6 people escaped unharmed after a storm tore the roof off a church. Michael Herzenberg has more from New York.
Strong storms ripped homes from their foundations and tore apart several businesses in North Carolina Saturday night.
You couldn't see out of a window. Things were just slashing around and things were popping.
From above, you could see right into a Lowe's home improvement store. An apparent tornado hopped from homes to big box stores to trucks.
We have had events like this in the past, back in the 1980s, but it's been a very long time since we've had something like this.
The same storms spawned tornadoes that terrorized people in at least 4 states over the past 2 days.
Dang, look at that thing.
Twisters like this one in Alabama killed more than a half a dozen people there, including a mother and her 2 kids north of Mobile.
Oh man, this is a tragedy.
Jean Box and her 11-year-old and 14-year-old were inside this mobile home when the storm tossed it down a hill.
Sheldon, who's 14, he was laying beside Taylor. He'd already passed away. And then we kept looking, and we found Jean. She was up under some rubble.
The front first flattened buildings in Oklahoma late Thursday.
You don't believe it unless you see it.
The system then pushed into Arkansas. Strong winds blew down this tree, killing a mother and her 8-year-old son as they slept. This storm is the deadliest yet this tornado season. The low-pressure system generating all this severe weather stretches from the Gulf to Canada, even bringing heavy rains and winds to New York Saturday night. Residents braced for the worst as the National Weather Service issued tornado warnings up and down the East Coast.
No one was hurt inside that Lowe's store thanks to a manager who gathered dozens of customers and workers into the back of the store.